My name is Susan, and I'm 21. I met Sean last fall in our college photography class. He had this effortless charm, always cracking jokes, helping everyone with their assignments, and flashing that disarming smile. It didn't take long before we started dating. At first, everything was perfect. He'd bring me coffee during late-night study sessions and take candid photos of me that I actually loved. He made me feel special. But as months went by, Sean's sweet gestures started to feel smothering. He would constantly ask where I was, who I was with, and what I was doing. At first, I brushed it off, thinking he just cared a lot. I mean, isn't that what love is? But then it got weird. If I didn't reply to his texts within minutes, he'd call repeatedly. If I hung out with friends without telling him, he'd somehow find out and act hurt. One day, I was cleaning my dorm when I noticed something unusual on my bookshelf. A small, unmarked camera. It was wedged between my books, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. My first thought was that it might have been part of Sean's photography project. He was always experimenting with different gadgets. Curious, I grabbed the SD card and popped it into my laptop. What I saw made my stomach turn. There were dozens of videos of me, studying, sleeping, changing clothes, even private moments in the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I clicked through file after file. Some of the footage was taken when I thought I was completely alone. I couldn't breathe. My dorm felt like a trap, and I couldn't figure out how Sean had even gotten the camera in there. We didn't live together, and I always locked my door. I called him immediately. My voice was trembling, but I managed to ask, "Sean, did you put a camera in my dorm?" There was silence on the other end before he laughed nervously. "What are you talking about, babe?" he said, but his tone gave him away. "I found it," I snapped. "I found the camera. Don't lie to me." Sean didn't even try to deny it. "It's not a big deal, Susan. I just wanted to make sure you were safe. You know how dangerous the campus can be." Safe? Was he serious? I was furious and terrified. "How long have you been watching me?" I demanded. His calmness turned cold. "Long enough to know you're not always honest with me." My blood ran cold. I felt violated, exposed. I told him it was over and hung up, but the nightmare didn't end there. After I blocked him, I noticed things around me felt off. I'd catch strangers glancing at me for a little too long, and once I swore I saw someone following me back to my dorm. Then, a week later, I found another hidden camera, this time in the common bathroom. I reported everything to campus security, and they called the police. When they searched Sean's apartment, they found several more cameras, some marked with my name and others labeled with different locations around campus. He had been recording not just me, but other students as well. But here's the scariest part. Sean was gone. He had vanished before the police could arrest him. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt like someone trying to get in. Every shadow felt like Sean watching me. They never caught him, and sometimes I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for the right moment to come back. Even now, I check every room I enter for hidden cameras. And every time I hear a click, I freeze, wondering if it's just my imagination or something worse. My name is Mia, and I'm 22. I met Derek during freshman year, and he seemed like the perfect guy. He was quiet but always attentive, and he had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. We started dating, and for the first year, everything seemed normal. He'd surprise me with coffee during midterms, help me study, and even write me little notes that I kept tucked in my journal. But Derek had his quirks. He didn't like when I spent time with other people, especially guys. He'd say things like, "I just want to protect you," or, "I don't trust their intentions." It sounded sweet at first, but over time, it started to feel controlling. He'd ask me to skip plans with friends to stay with him, and I found myself saying yes more often than I should. One Friday night, I stayed over at his apartment. Derek fell asleep early, and I was lying next to him scrolling through my phone. That's when I noticed his phone lighting up on the nightstand. It kept buzzing with messages. I wouldn't normally snoop, but the constant notifications made me curious. I picked up his phone, and my heart sank when I saw the messages. They were from a girl named Kayla, someone I didn't recognize. The conversation wasn't just flirty, it was sinister. Kayla and Derek were discussing me. "I think she's almost completely cut off from her friends," one message from Derek read. "Good," Kayla replied. "The more isolated she feels, the better the data will be. This will be great for the paper." I felt like I was going to throw up. Scrolling further, I found dozens of messages between them, all about manipulating me. They had been planning this for months as part of some twisted social experiment for a psychology project. I couldn't believe it. Derek, the guy I trusted, had been treating me like I was some lab rat. The worst part? Kayla wasn't just some random girl. As I kept reading, it became clear. She was Derek's real girlfriend. I sat there, shaking, reading message after message. They had planned everything. Derek's sweet gestures, calculated, his possessiveness, intentional. Even the fights he'd picked with me about my friends, they were all part of the experiment. I didn't know what to do. My first instinct was to confront him right then and there, but I didn't feel safe. Instead, I quietly put his phone back on the nightstand and pretended to sleep. My mind raced all night, piecing everything together. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in. I confronted Derek while he was brushing his teeth. "How could you do this to me?" I yelled. At first he looked confused, but when I mentioned Kayla's name, his face went pale. "Mia, it's not what you think," he stammered. "Oh, really?" I snapped. "So you didn't spend months manipulating me for some disgusting experiment, and Kayla isn't your girlfriend?" He tried to apologize, but his excuses made me even angrier. "It was just for the project," he said. "You don't understand how important this was." "I trusted you," I screamed. "You treated me like I was nothing." I left his apartment that morning and blocked him on everything. I thought that would be the end of it, but the story didn't stay between us for long. Word spread quickly on campus. Someone leaked screenshots of the messages, and everyone knew what Derek and Kayla had done. The backlash was brutal. Professors called them out in class, and Derek dropped out of college within weeks. Even though he's gone, I still feel the scars of what he did. Trust doesn't come easy anymore. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever feel safe in a relationship again. I met Ava during my first semester, and we clicked instantly. She was smart, beautiful, and caring. Being with her felt easy, like I'd found someone special. Everything about her seemed perfect, and I couldn't believe my luck. But as time passed, things started to feel off. One day, I noticed something strange. Ava always had a second phone. She kept it hidden in her bag, never letting it out of sight. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe it was for work or family. But one afternoon, when she left it unattended at my place, I couldn't resist checking it. What I found made my stomach churn. The phone was filled with texts and calls from multiple older men. Some of the messages were shocking, full of dates and payments. It was clear. Ava was using the phone for escort work. She was paying her way through college by doing this. I felt like I was going to throw up. The girl I thought I loved was living a double life. When Ava returned, I confronted her. At first, she denied it, but when I showed her the texts, she broke down. She admitted everything but begged me not to tell anyone. She said she had no choice, that it was the only way to stay in school. I was torn. Anger, disgust, and sympathy battled in my mind. I loved her, but how could I continue after this? I told her I couldn't do it anymore. She begged me to stay, promising to quit, but I couldn't trust her anymore. I ended the relationship. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. A few days later, I started getting strange texts from unknown numbers, warning me to stay quiet. I blocked them, but the messages didn't stop. One night, I found my car tires slashed. Another time, I swear I saw someone watching me from across the street. I kept her secret, but the fear didn't leave. Every day felt like I was looking over my shoulder. I wonder if those men she worked with know who I am now. Sometimes I feel like I'm being followed, and I can't sleep without checking every lock twice. Loving Ava didn't just break my heart, it made me scared for my life. My name is Olivia, and I'm 20 years old. I go to a big state university in California, the kind with sprawling green lawns, giant lecture halls, and a Greek life scene that seems to run the social world. I've never been the type to get too involved in the party culture, but one Friday night last semester, my roommate Claire convinced me to come with her to a fraternity party. That's where I met Tyler. Tyler was one of those guys who could charm anyone, the type who always knew the right thing to say and had a laugh that made you feel like you were the funniest person in the room. He spotted me near the makeshift bar and introduced himself. His smile was warm, his eyes locked onto mine like I was the only person in the room. We talked for hours, and by the end of the night, he asked for my number. I didn't hesitate. Over the next few weeks, we started spending more time together. Tyler was attentive, always texting me good morning and picking me up for late-night drives. He introduced me to his fraternity brothers, and they all seemed friendly, joking around and treating me like one of their own. Tyler's protectiveness felt comforting. He'd drape his arm around me at parties, subtly steering me away from drunk guys who got too close. I thought he genuinely cared about me. But then, one night, everything changed. Tyler had come over to my dorm to study. We were sitting on my bed, books spread out between us, when his phone started buzzing nonstop. At first he ignored it, but the vibrations kept coming. He got up to grab some water from the kitchen, leaving his phone behind. That's when I glanced at the screen. A group chat was blowing up, messages flying in faster than I could read them. The preview of one caught my eye. Got another one for the vault, boys. I don't know what made me do it, but I picked up his phone and unlocked it. The group chat was filled with messages from Tyler and his fraternity brothers. They were sharing photos of girls, some clothed, some not. My stomach dropped when I saw my own face among them. It was a picture I'd sent Tyler a couple of weeks ago, something playful, but private. And now it was in this disgusting group chat, accompanied by laughing emojis and crude comments from guys I'd had beers with just days ago. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I could hear Tyler's footsteps coming back, so I quickly put it down and tried to compose myself. But I couldn't look at him the same way. "What's wrong?" he asked, sitting back down beside me. "Your phone was buzzing a lot," I said, my voice barely steady. He glanced at it and shrugged. "Oh, it's just the guys. Stupid group chat stuff." "Stupid?" I snapped, unable to hold it in anymore. "You're sharing private pictures of me? Of other girls?" His face changed instantly. The charm disappeared, replaced by a defensive scowl. "It's not a big deal, Olivia. It's just something we do. Everyone knows about it." "Everyone?" My voice cracked. "You think this is normal? That it's okay?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair like I was the one overreacting. "Look, it's harmless. Nobody cares." "I care," I yelled. "Those are private pictures, Tyler. You had no right." "Calm down," he interrupted, his tone sharp. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not like anyone's gonna see them outside the group." I felt like I couldn't breathe. The guy I thought cared about me, who made me feel safe, was treating me like I was nothing. I told him to leave, and when he tried to argue, I grabbed his stuff and shoved it into his arms. After he left, I sat on my bed, staring at the wall. My phone buzzed with texts from him, alternating between apologies and excuses, but I ignored them. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I went to the campus Title IX office and reported him and the fraternity. I showed them screenshots I'd taken of the group chat. The woman I spoke to was sympathetic, but I could see the hesitation in her eyes. Over the next few weeks, I found out why. The fraternity's alumni donors were some of the biggest financial backers of the school. When word got out about my complaint, the frat closed ranks. They denied everything, claimed I was lying to get attention. The school conducted an investigation, but nothing came of it. Tyler and his brothers stayed on campus, throwing their parties like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I started getting anonymous texts calling me a slut, telling me to watch my back. I'd see Tyler across the quad sometimes, laughing with his friends, and feel sick to my stomach. I lost friends over it too. Some people didn't want to pick sides, while others outright accused me of ruining Tyler's life. I'd never felt so alone. Even now, months later, I'm still dealing with the fallout. I switched dorms, changed my number, and started therapy. But I can't shake the feeling of betrayal, the fear that someone out there still has my pictures saved. I thought Tyler was my protector. Instead, he turned out to be the worst kind of predator. Have you ever had a creepy or unforgettable experience in college? Drop your stories in the comments below. We're excited to read them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring more stories your way. Make sure to check out our other horror stories for more chills. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.